All right, what is up, everybody? How is your Wednesday night going, or Wednesday afternoon for those folks on the Pacific Coast? My name is Krista Turk. This is Bet the Beach Live, season number 3, the debut episode, the opening episode, the season premiere, as it were, of Bet the Beach Live. We got a lot going on in the world of beach volleyball. That's why figured it'd be a good night to debut the new program, the new season of the new program, Bet the Beach Live. And if you haven't hopped on before in past years, I'll start off right from the top and telling you that this show has to be interactive. We want this show to be interactive. We want this to harken back to the days where you're driving home late at night and you put on that one radio station in town that takes phone calls. I can't play any music for you, but I'll happily take your phone call, talk to you, and we can chop it up and we can talk some beach volleyball, as it were, because there is a hell of a lot going on in the world of beach volleyball right now. Last week we had the FIVB announcing that the Beach Pro Tour set to be replaced by this Beach World Series. That's big news. Not getting nearly the amount of credit or discussion that it needs to get, but don't have a lot of information, as it were. You know, volleyball. We all know it. If you guys are watching this program, you know the struggles that beach volleyball goes through with communication and consistency and new announcements, new leagues forming, and all that kind of stuff. That happy horse shit. But either way, we'll talk about that as the course of the program goes on. But as I said, needs to be interactive, wants to be interactive, and there's lots of ways to get in touch with the program. I already put on my Instagram story a place where you can submit questions for me. But a lot easier if you want to just hop in that chat right down here at the bottom, right here, right about here. Just go ahead and put your cursor in there and type me up a little message. Let me know what you want to hear, what you want to see, what you want to talk about here tonight. I think a lot of people are going to want to talk about Taylor Crabb and Andy Benesh. The announcement came today at high noon on the East Coast here, so 9 o'clock for you Pacific folks. But we had a pretty good idea it was coming yesterday when USA Beach posted that silhouetted reel showing the clips of Taylor Crabb and Andy Benesh. And if you didn't catch that one, go to USA Beach's post from yesterday, or you can go to Bet the Beach's Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or any of that kind of stuff. We kind of broke it down and we did our little detective work, and we found out that sure enough, it was going to be Taylor Crabb and Andy Benesh getting together, and that's the news that came out today, right around noontime, as I said. And it's a huge partnership, and it's a huge deal for the United States Federation, as it were, because in a lot of ways, similar to what happened a week and a half ago with Kelly Cheng and Megan Kraft getting together right off the top, and that was the first domino to fall. You had probably two of the best players available, really. If you take TKN off that list on the women's side, it was really Kelly Cheng and Megan Kraft, and the two of them get together, and then all the dominoes shake out from there. On the men's side, I'm not sure if people saw this coming. I know that in my DMs over the last week or so, the chatter got hotter and hotter and hotter as it related to Taylor Crabb and Andy Benesh. Got a few DMs saying it's a lock. Of course, we had posted those odds a while back, and Taylor Crabb and Andy Benesh were at the top of the list for odds to get together. So the announcement came out today. Taylor Crabb and Andy Benesh getting together for the 2026 season. A surprise for some, maybe not so much a surprise for others. If you listened to Sandcast last week, Triborn recorded that with the Crabs, both Trevor and Taylor. That was recorded a while ago, maybe 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. So obviously there may have been some changes and conversations that have happened since then. But even in that conversation, Taylor said, when asked if him and Trevor would make a run for it for 2028, he said it'd be a great story. I would love to do it, and we're a great team together, as we saw at the end of the season there in both Newport and in that final tournament in Brazil. He said right then, would Andy and I be a better team together? Yeah, we would. So whether or not the conversations had already started happening then between Taylor and Andy, or if the conversations came from that. I considered for a little while posting just like a meme clip of POV Andy Benesh hearing Taylor Crabb saying him and Andy would be a good team, and Andy getting right to his phone and texting. Didn't post that, kind of opted not to on that. Ultimately, it turns out that, that's the partnership, Taylor Crabb, Andy Benesh. So what does it all mean? So I got a lot of comments today on my posts, and then, of course, on all the other posts about how people thinking it's a lateral move for Andy Benesh, in that Miles Partain has, for at least 4 or 5 years, been known as, next up as far as defenders go for the United States. I think he qualified, the youngest to qualify for an AVP, highest level event. Has won AVP events at a very, very young age. I remember there's that, I think it was AVP Atlanta. He won with Paul Ottman, and he wasn't even old enough to drink. So they gave him the Kona, and they immediately took the Kona beer away from him because he wasn't even 21 at that point. So Miles Partain is a very talented player. And so I think people, when they saw Andy and him get together, figured that this was a long-term partnership. And Andy and Miles, they got together in 2023, and then 2023 is when they made their names known. They had that stretch. I said it earlier in my reel, and if you feel free to go back and check that out, breaking down just the instant reaction of the partnership. Miles and Andy had a stretch in 2023, Ostrava, Stade, Montreal. So that's like June, July, August there. 3 straight tournaments in which they had a medal of each color. Bronze in Ostrava, gold, cowbell in Stade, and then a silver in Montreal. And people thought, okay, this is next up. This is USA's next big team, and this is going to propel USA to the next, 3 or 4 Olympic quads, harkening back to the era when Phil Dahlhauser and or Jake Gibb were, qualifying for every Olympics for, nearly 2 decades. After 2023, I think the results, I don't know if you want to call it diminishing returns, but something changed. And they get to the Olympics. They qualify for the Olympics easily. That stretch in 2023 really was one of the situations where it was those 3 events, and then that story was over. And then for the rest of that qualifying year plus, it was really one spot left for all the other teams. And ultimately, as we know, Chase Budinger and Miles Evans end up beating Theo Brunner and Trevor Crabb for that final spot. And it's Chase and Miles, and it's Miles and Andy. And Miles and Andy end up taking a 5th in the 2024 Olympics in Paris. Had a pretty good result. There was a kind of a notable moment there about halfway through the Olympics in Paris. I think after pool play or the middle of pool play, firing their coach, Mike Playchek, which I think was notable. I remember Dane coming on the broadcast and saying, man, you don't ever see this. They've been with this guy now for a year and a half, and they fire him in the middle of the Olympics. What happened? So that was the first time we thought maybe, something's going on with this team. And then since then, the results just haven't been what they wanted them to be. And I think on paper, it's a partnership that makes a lot of sense. Miles Partain can certainly side out pretty effectively. But sometimes you need a change of scenery. Sometimes you need to change something up. And over the course of the 2025 season, Miles and Andy had, some success, but certainly not what they were looking for. Never got back on a podium. At the elite level, I should check that. I know they had one top 5 finish this year. It could have been a bronze, but it certainly wasn't a gold or a silver medal at the elite level for Andy Benesh and Miles Partain. So Andy Benesh ends up departing, going in separate ways from Miles Partain, and whether it's him that calls Taylor Crabb or Taylor Crabb that calls Andy Benesh. And you have what I said earlier was Andy Benesh has been, in my mind, the best blocker in the United States, going on 3 to 4 years now. I set that delineating line, that the break point where the championship belt goes from one guy to the next as far as blockers go. And whether it was Phil or Jake that had it for, as I said, almost 2 decades, I think after they switched, or after they backed away from international play, I think Andy Benesh was next up. And, of course, it was kind of a torch-passing moment. It was 2022. I think it was AVP Austin or AVP New Orleans. Andy Benesh ends up partnering with Phil Dahlhauser. I forget exactly how that happened. I think so. Andy Benesh was supposed to play with Nick Lucena that entire season, and then Nick had an injury or something like that, so they called in Phil, and Phil and Andy split blocking and won the whole thing. So that was Andy Benesh's first AVP title with Phil Dahlhauser in 2022. He's won a bunch since then, all with Miles Partain. Never won a Manhattan Beach Open, so that's something he's still going to be looking for. Taylor Crabb, on the other hand, he's got 14 AVP titles in his career, a bunch of those with Jake, the rest of them with Sander, and one, as I said earlier, coincidentally, both these guys have won with the GOAT. I guess there's a lot of people on that list that have won with the GOAT. But both Taylor and Andy Benesh have both won AVP championships with Phil Dahlhauser, and they're getting together now. And I think for the USA, it's a huge moment, I think. I'm looking in the chat here. VB Slunks, Partain Shaw next. Good question, VB Slunks, and that's the question that's been on a lot of people's minds here today. So, as with all these things, it's usually the top that something happens, and then everything kind of trickles down from there. And I said it earlier, and then I later on this evening I just kind of caught up on Sandcast. Travis Merwitter had a good clip on the new partnership, and he said the same thing I did in my clip earlier. And that what this all means now is that you have a big available free agent in Miles Partain. And I'm seeing there in the comments there, Partain Shaw for VB Slunks, Jay Wood, I think that is there. Partain Shaw. So Partain Shaw is what everybody wants to see. It's what everybody's clamoring for. And in a lot of ways, it makes sense, right? So if you're ranking, like, if you just take blockers and defenders here and you put them in a list and you work your way down the list, as I said, Andy Benesh is at the top. Chase Buttinger's got to be in that conversation. And we're talking right now, I should pause here and say this. We're talking about guys that are going to play internationally, because despite the fact that I think at some point now we need to get to a point where the Olympics isn't everything for us and it's not our entire focus, I think right now it's a unavoidable fact that the Olympic cycle is still top of mind for beach volleyball fans. It's really what the whole thing kind of churns and pushes towards. And maybe in a couple years we can get to a point where AVP League gets to a point where we're really talking about the AVP championships being meaningful year after year, and the Olympics is a big thing, but every 4 years, and it's not our entire focus. If that was the case, the names Phil Dahlhauser and Taylor Sander would come into our conversation a lot more on a day like today. We don't talk about the words. We don't mention Phil Dahlhauser. We don't mention Taylor Sander on a day like today as much, because a lot of this shuffling is kind of poising, positioning, getting ready for this run for LA 2028. Only thing that doesn't make sense for Partain Shaw is the lack of the young gun vet duo a la carte. Yeah, certainly, and that formula has worked in the past. Yeah. I would be interested. How do I want to say this? I'm going to say this politically. One of the things I think that I had questions about was the focus, determination of benesh and Partain. And a lot of that, I think, just comes from the types of guys that they are. They don't wear their hearts in their sleeves. They're not the kind of guys that you're going to see that passion outward. It's more of an inward thing for Partain and benesh. So Partain is very much so that. Andy a little less so. You'll see Andy kind of occasionally be demonstrative, and I think that's why him and Taylor are going to work well together. James Shaw is a guy that can be a little fiery, and so maybe a guy that's got a little fire to him would be better for Partain, and then alternatively, that could be worse. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that doesn't work for Miles Partain and James Shaw. You certainly have the two talented players, and you certainly have a guy in James Shaw that likes to play the type of volleyball that Miles Partain wants to play: fast, jump setting, optioning. James Shaw wants to play that way. One of the best servers around, so it's a very logical next step, I think, for the men's. And if you're just taking pieces and putting them together, best blocker available, best defender available, Partain Shaw, I think, makes a lot of sense. Duncan one suggesting Partain and Sander. So as I just mentioned, what's the future hold for Taylor Sander here? I mentioned in my clip earlier, to see Taylor Crabb take a partner this early in the quad. So we're not even to Olympic qualification yet. We're still 10, 11, 12 months away from Olympic qualification starting. So that makes 2026 a test year. So when you heard Taylor and Trevor on Sandcast a week ago talking about the quad and the cycle, Trevor saying, I'm in no rush here. I'm in no rush to figure out what's going on. In my mind, I think that this is the year to pick a partner you think it's going to work, and you test it out, and you go the year, and if it doesn't work, then you make a move late this year, and then you get ready, and you just pop right into qualification. Hopefully you've got enough points that with your new partner you can, get straight into challenges or elites or whatever they're called come November and the new Beach World Series. So how did I get on that? I got on a little tangent there. Somebody in the chat remind me where I was just going there. The lack of young gun vet duo a la carte, Partain and Sander. So Sander. So to see Taylor, I just remembered. So to see Taylor Crabb pick a partner this early tells me that him and Sander, who they are very, very close, best friends, been friends since they were kids. That tells me that Taylor Crabb and Taylor Sander either had a conversation in which Sander said, I'm not in for that grind, man. And we've heard him say that before. We know that Sander has already done the international grind on the indoor. He's already been in Olympics. He's been going to Indonesia every winter to play indoor there. So we know that he was reluctant to play on the international stage, and maybe a year and a half of grinding across the world internationally to try to qualify for one of those two spots wasn't in the cards for Taylor Sander. That's very possible. And if Taylor Sander tells Taylor Crabb that early, Taylor Crabb says, okay, well, then I got to go find my guy, calls up Andy Benesh. Boom, there you go. And if you're Andy Benesh, it's really hard to say no to Taylor Crabb. I'm sorry. And I know a lot of people out there don't want to hear that, and they want to say, yeah, Miles Partain, you're making a lateral move. I don't think you are. I think you're getting a better defender. Maybe a guy who might have a little more trouble siding out than Miles Partain, but I don't even know if I buy that. I've heard that story today, that Miles Partain's better in the side out. Maybe the numbers show that. When I see Taylor Crabb play, I don't see a guy that struggles inside out. I'm sorry, I just don't. And you got a guy that's just, from a pure defensive standpoint, one of the best I've ever seen in Taylor Crabb. So, and I'm again, apologies to, I'm not your Tom Brokaw or whoever the new, unbiased journalists are out there these days. That's not me. That's not me. I'm not that guy. I'm going to wear my heart on my sleeve, and I've been a fan of Taylor Crabb since I started watching the sport. And I got into this game late. I started watching in 2019. The first tournament I watched was Jake Gibb and Taylor Crabb win in Waikiki in the last event of 2019. And I said, who the hell is this guy? They call him the Bug? What's his story? And of course, as you guys know, you guys were all watching him long before I was. I was late to that party, but ever since I've been in on Taylor Crabb. And so where he took a 4-year quad, more or less off, played domestically, played everywhere, just everywhere but the international stage. I'm really, really, really excited to see him play at the highest level now, internationally and domestically. We'll talk about that in a minute with, in my mind, the best blocker available in the United States. What do they pay Sander indoor? Sounded like Taylor C. and Trevor going for Olympic. So Taylor Crabb, Duncan won. Taylor Crabb announcing today that him and Andy Benesh are going to be going for LA 2028. And the reason I say they're going for LA 2028 is when they're post. I'm surprised, too, that so many of these posts have specifically said this is an Olympic push. So Kelly Cheng and Megan Kraft said LA 2028 in their post. Taylor Crabb and Andy Benesh today in that post as LA 2028. If it's me, I'm probably thinking I might just say it's a new partnership, not commit for the next 2.5 years possibly, because what happens in 6 months if this partnership doesn't go well? Well, you're going to go your separate ways and you're going to partner with somebody else. But, it's marketing, and maybe that's the way they wanted to do it. So basically what it tells you is that Taylor Crabb and Andy Benesh are making a run for LA 2028 for the moment. And then another question that I had when the post came out, and we've been educated by it because the AVP comes out with a post, that they're going to be playing on the AVP League as well if they can qualify. And I think Taylor said in somewhat of a comment to that, C in the league. Well, they got to qualify. There's going to be a series of single elimination tournaments for them to qualify. Tell you what, I'll put some odds on it right now. Minus 100,000 for Taylor Crabb and Andy Benesh to grab one of those qualifying spots for the AVP League. I'm not too worried about that happening, to be honest with you. So I said all that to say this. Taylor Sander, the partnership for me, to answer the question about Sander before we move on here, that tells me that Sander's not looking to go for LA 2028. Will Sander continue to play domestically? He plays during the winters in Indonesia indoor. I'm sure he's getting a good paycheck by that. They've said as much on Sandcast. Will Sander want to continue to play domestically? He's had great success in the AVP League with Taylor Crabb. Travis Merwitter on Sandcast posited earlier that he wouldn't be surprised to see him pick somebody up and potentially maybe move to a defensive position. His skills from indoor being able to translate pretty well to being a defender in beach. So who knows? We'll see. But ultimately, Phil Dahlhauser, Taylor Sander are, I don't want to see left out of the conversation, but they're kind of a side note to the conversation because this move here is an Olympic move, so then every other move that kind of shakes out after that kind of has to fall in place. So I got some questions here, and again, please, continue to pepper the chat with those questions. We'll continue to try to answer them. You can also call in at any moment if you want. 978-254-1707. We'll get you potted up. Just let me know who it is that what your name is and where you're calling from, and we'll see if we can get your questions answered, or at least kind of hang out and chop it up and talk some beach volleyball. And also, if you want to go grab a beer. Have a beer with me. I would certainly love to hang out, talk some beach volley, and drink a beer with you. Questions. Let's start with one of my favorites, Pro Volleyball News. Rosie If you're on Instagram, if you're on Instagram, if you're listening to me, you're on Instagram. Follow Pro Volleyball News if you don't already. She does a great job covering the sport. I actually reached out to her about a half an hour ago to confirm something from her Substack. I think it's called Beachside Scoop on Substack. Rosie does a great job. Excellent writer. So if you like to consume content, the written word, and you're a beach volley fan, pull up the Substack of Pro Volleyball News. It's called Beachside Scoop. Rosie does an awesome job, and she keeps you updated too. And she had posted in her most recent partnership carousel, I think she calls it. Rosie, I'm sorry if I'm getting that wrong. But she had posted that Derek Bradford and Evan Corey were a confirmed partnership, and I went to Instagram. I didn't see it, and I went to both their Instagrams, so I DM'd Rosie, and I said, is that solid? Where'd you get that? And she sent, sure, right away. She sent me the receipts. She got in the comments where Evan Corey himself saying that him and Bradford, one of the few men's teams that are sticking together. So from Rosie, she submitted a few questions earlier via Instagram story. What new women's team are you most excited for other than Chang and Kraft, of course? Well, let's go through the list right now, and let me know in the chat too who you're most excited to see. But let's go through the list here. And I kind of ordered these because I'm going to start putting out odds to qualify for LA 2028 once the rest of the men's partnerships kind of fall into place. You're going to start seeing regular posts from me, odds to qualify for 2028. So I kind of organized these way too early, odds to qualify and who's highest and who's lowest on that list. TKN, in my mind, has to be at the very top of your list right now for odds to qualify for LA 2028. And here's just a reminder too, and especially on the women's side, it's the most obvious on the women's side that you got at least 6, in my mind, 5-6 teams that could easily put themselves in a position to be top 25 in the world, and you only get 2 spots in the Olympics. So unfortunately, for a lot of these teams, it's going to be you're going to be one of the best teams in the world. You're not going to get to play on the highest stage, which again is why we need to emphasize more the regular year-to-year than we do the 4-year Olympic cycle. But again, that's a story for another day. Today we're talking Olympics because that's kind of what we've been doing. So TKN's the top of the list. Taryn Brasher, Kristen Nuss. Congratulations to Kristen Nuss for just getting married pretty recently. But TKN going to be at the top of your list, and they're going to be there for a while. Kelly Chang got together with Megan Kraft about a week and a half ago. That's a partnership. Rosie says I can't include that one in my list for the one I'm most excited to see. And she also said new partnership, so I can't pick TKN either. I said it on my clip about a week ago with Kelly and Megan. In my mind, you put the 2 best pieces together. And at this point in the game where you're almost a year away from qualification, I think the best thing that you can do is put your 2 best pieces together and see what happens. And sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it does work. But it's not rocket science, people. Take your best defender, put him with your best blocker, and see what the chemistry is. And I think that USA v Beach, I don't know how much say they have in this. I'm sure that they are at least a participant in these conversations or a suggester. Megan Kraft and Kelly Chang were the 2 best pieces available. And on the men's side, Taylor Crabb and Andy Benesh, in my mind, were the 2 best pieces available, and both got together. So it's a major win if you're a United States beach volleyball fan and you're hoping for medals. If you are prospecting for a medal come LA 2028 in the sand for the United States, if you want a United States flag on the top of that podium come whatever it is, mid-August 2028 in Los Angeles, the last week and a half has been good for you. The odds went up for the United States to medal. So that's a good thing. So next up on the list for the women's side, I'm going to put, let's see. I'm going to put 3 teams, maybe 4 teams in my next category. So I got TKN, Kelly Chang, Megan Kraft. In my mind, those are your best odds to win at the moment, or best odds to qualify. I apologize. And then in my mind, you got 4 next teams that are kind of in that next category that all have an opportunity here and a possibility to overtake Kelly or Megan, a possibility to overtake TKN. Sarah Hughes and Allie Batenhorst. Allie Batenhorst was suspended for some sort of substance. We're hearing that it was a prescribed thing, so a miscommunication with the FIVB and the anti-doping and all that. But no official confirmation that they're back, but we've seen them practicing, which would seem to indicate that is getting itself worked out. And Sarah Hughes looked phenomenal in Newport, recovering from that bad leg injury in the beginning of 2025. So Sarah looked great for her first event back. Sarah Nally, I think I said in my clip, most impressive 0-2 start of all time for a partnership. So I think they're in that next conversation. Lexi Denneberg and Julia Donlin still haven't had that firmly 100% confirmed, but and I saw that Smart Science Ed here did hop in the chat a minute ago. Ed seeming to indicate, I think in the comments, that the two of them were a lock to get back together. I haven't seen anything to indicate otherwise, so we have to assume Lexi Denneberg and Julia Donlin are back in 2026. And it's an explosive team. It's a team, at least in the United States, no team's going to hit the ball harder than Lexi and Julia. And I said it in the clip last week, don't forget, AVP League Championships, Lexi and Julia in the round of 6 had to beat, I think it was TKN, in the semifinals, beat Kelly and Molly. That could be flip-flopped, but they beat those two teams in a row, and Brandy and Mel. And I probably had that order wrong. But they beat all 3 of those teams on the path to winning the AVP League Championships. TKN, Brandy Mel, Kelly and Molly. So they beat 3 of the top 15 to 20 teams in the world in a course of the 2 days to win the AVP League Championship. That's a team that you got to respect. That's a team that you got to look out for. So Lexi and Julia, at the moment, are slotted to get back together, and I think they're a team that could contend here. So they're in that next category. Molly Shaw, Tony Rodriguez announcing a partnership. I think you got to put them in there as well. They had some success at the end of 2024. 3 straight challenges, the medal of each color. And then, so here's your answer, Rosie. Long way for me to say, I am most excited to see Betsy Flint back on the sand. I am a Betsy Flint stan. I am a huge fan of her game. Her ability to control the game with her serve, just as a defender, she is exactly the kind of player that I like to watch. I'm a huge Betsy Flint fan, and so I am very excited to see Betsy Flint back out on the sand after the birth of her second child and out there with Kylie DeBerg. As I said in the clip, I think it was last week, it's a big opportunity for Kylie DeBerg. I think Kylie DeBerg has a lot of potential. She certainly has the size. She's got a big arm. And I think partnering up with one of the best defenders in the United States it's a big move for Kylie DeBerg. It's a big good opportunity for her. I'll say that. Let me go through some of the comments here. Duncan 1. So who does Trevor go to try and make the Olympics? All right, so let's try to answer that one, Duncan 1. I know we're hopping around here, but we're taking the questions as they come, right? So who does Trevor go with to try and make the Olympics? If you listen to Sandcast, both Tri and Travis are enamored with the idea of Trevor getting together with Chase Buttinger. And I know a lot of you are going to say, but don't those two hate each other? What about the shove? I'm not so worried about that. I think if anything, that could make the story even better, and I think it make them even more interested in trying to give it a try. Trevor's in an interesting position. Trevor's right now probably 35, 36 in that, so he'll be 37, 38 come the Olympics, which is not too old to make a run, but it does limit his, I think, options for partners. And I think in the Sandcast episode a week ago, Trevor said something to the effect of, I would make a run if I had the right partner. I don't think Trevor's going to have his pick of the litter exactly. I mean, obviously Taylor Crabb did here in grabbing Andy Benesh, the best blocker available. I don't think that Trevor is at the top of the list like Taylor is as far as he can pick any blocker that he wants. That said, I think Trevor could be in a unique position to grab the right guy at the right time. And Chase Buttinger, I think, might be that guy, which I think is why it makes so much sense. Chase and Miles seemingly maybe have plateaued a little bit. We know they can be a very good team. We're pretty confident at this point they can't be a great team. They made it to the elimination rounds in 2024 in Paris. I want to say they took a 9th, but I think they got pretty unlucky and got paired up with Norway in that first round. Norway, I think, may have struggled in pool play, and then Chase and Miles got a bad draw. So that's no shame there at all to lose to Anders Mole and Christian Sorum in a single elimination round in the Olympics. But I do think that Chase and Miles may have plateaued a little bit. They won their first Manhattan Beach Open last year. I'm glad they got that under the belt, both of them needing to get their names on the pier, both well-deserved. But I do think that maybe it might be time for Chase Buttinger to pick that one last partner to make that one last big run. And I think him and Trevor do make a lot of sense there. So for right now, I agree with the Sandcast boys. I would love to see Trevor and Chase Buttinger get together. Let's kind of moving down in there. Oh, there's Rosie. Roster roulette, it's called. Sorry, I had the chat getting behind on the chat there a little bit. Who do you think Partain will play with going forward? I think we already answered that. James Shaw would probably be at the top of the list. There's some questions about whether or not Miles wants to make a run for it. I don't say I'm confident, but I would be surprised if he doesn't. I think eventually Miles Partain will pick a partner, and he's going to have his pick of the litter at this point. If he waits too long, maybe he won't. But I think if Miles Partain comes calling, I think a lot of blockers are going to be answering that phone. Continuing to go through the questions here. Any word if Quiggle Rice are staying together? Rice's athleticism is ridiculous and comparable to Guittardi. Great question, W. Barnhill 3, and appreciate the follow. W. Barnhill's all over the place supporting Bet the Beach, so I certainly do appreciate that. Yeah, so Megan J. Rice is an interesting one. She is the only person at the moment on my list here that isn't committed yet for 2026, and in my mind, she already should be. In my mind, she has, I agree with you, W. Barnhill 3, Megan J. Rice has the potential to be kind of next up for the United States. So I'm surprised to see that somebody that's already kind of paired up didn't make the phone call. Maybe they did. Maybe Megan's got other plans. She might stay together with Corin Quiggle. But I'll be interested to see where Megan J. Rice shakes out. To go back to my list there for a minute, Betsy Flint and Kylie DeBerg, I think we're in that next list. And then there's a couple more partnerships. Pro Volleyball News, her and Gina need to commit. That would be great. So put Gina in the same conversation as I just had about Taylor Sander and Phil Dahlhauser. From everything that we've heard over the last bunch of years, Gina not interested in playing internationally, which kind of, I don't want to say removes her from this conversation, but it definitely puts her in a different category where I don't immediately say, all right, the best blocker available, or put her with Gina Urango, because Gina would be way up near the top of this list if she was in that conversation for playing internationally. Gina will most definitely play again on the AVP League. I think she's now 2-time AVP MVP. The first 2 years of the AVP League. Gina Urango's a badass. We're big Gina Urango fans on this podcast. So Megan J. Rice and Gina Urango will be an awesome team to see together in 2026. But we're not expecting Gina to play internationally, which makes it hard for a partner to kind of split time. And I think Travis talked about that a little bit with Phil Dahlhauser and Trevor Crabb. Trevor Crabb playing with Phil in the AVP. So does a partner want to pair up with Trevor when you're only getting Trevor for international events, and domestically you got to find somebody else? So no word yet to answer your question, W. Barnhill, about Quiggle and Rice, whether they're going to be staying together or not. I think I agree with you. Rice's athleticism is ridiculous. Comparable to Guittardi, that's tough because I think Valentina Guittardi is far and away the most explosive player in the world at the moment, and I think we're going to be saying her name for quite some time now. But to even get that favorable comparison tells you what the talent that Megan J. Rice is. Cook and Diaz from Cuba. I thought Cook might play with Sander since he can't play for the U.S. internationally. So I'm not sure what Andrew Poyer is getting at there. Cook and Diaz from Cuba. So Sean Cook is going to be looking for a partner domestically for sure. Sean Cook is not able to play for the FIVB, and I've DM'd with him about it in the past. The FIVB made a stupid rule. And we're also Sean Cook stands on this podcast, big fans of Sean Cook. So we are Team Sean as far as this kind of battle with the FIVB goes. They won't let him play because he at one point played internationally for his home country of Scotland, I believe is the story, and I can go back and look there. Andrew Poyer saying, I heard Diaz will play AVP. Interesting. I hadn't heard that. Wouldn't be the first time we've seen international guys come and play on the AVP Tour. If so, be very interesting. Noslin Diaz, the defender for Cuba. You saw him and Jorge Alayo make a great run in the Olympics in 2024. That's a fun team, explosive team. Noslin Diaz, one of the tallest defenders, but able to dig a ball. Spectacular player. Young player, too, there. So if he's playing on the AVP, that'd be really fun to watch. But, yeah, Sean Cook goes in that conversation with Phil and Sander and Gina now of players that are playing domestically and not internationally, which kind of limits, partnership options for them. Kind of puts them at the bottom of the list. What it means, basically, is everything's got to shake out. So on the women's side, everything's kind of shaken out at this point. The last two partnerships I haven't got a chance to get to yet. Savvy-Simo, Devin Newberry. Pro Volleyball News, Rosie, that's the other one I want to kind of shout out. I love Savvy-Simo's game. Devin Newberry is just an absolute baller. She kind of had her breakout season in the AVP League this year. So Sav and Devin is going to be a partnership that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Kind of an underrated blocker, as Travis Merwitter said earlier in Sandcast today. And then the most recent partnership news, Haley Harvard and Zolani Hodel. I'm not terribly familiar with Zolani Hodell's game. I've only seen her play a couple of times, but I am familiar with Haley Harward's game. I'm a big fan of Haley Harward, and I'm consistently curious why she doesn't get a crack at some of these top blockers when all these partnerships kind of shake up. But Haley Harward, I'm a big fan of Haley Harward, and I think that's going to be a really good team. As far as free agents go, on the women's side, Therese Cannon out with surgery, and she'll be out until the fall, so she'll be participating in this quad, but she's going to get a chance to wait. And whichever one of those partnerships doesn't work that we just talked about, Therese Cannon's going to be the first name you're going to hear. Hey, we should partner Therese with blank, because that partnership's not working out. Megan J. Rice, we already talked about her. Corinne Quiggle. Chloe Lorene, Molly Phillips, now available. Her and Haley had played pretty well together, but Haley's moving on. Devon Sowers and Carly Kahn on the women's side. Let's see here. As the dominoes fall in men's partnerships, and you look at the Hagen, Wyatt, Bradford, Weber, etc. Great question, Pete Halverson, and thanks for the follow, and thanks for contributing here. On the men's side here, we still have a lot to go, right? So, Taylor Crabb and Andy Benesh announced today, and again, just like Kelly and Megan, that's really the top of the list, so every domino shakes up from that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some more dominoes fall here over the next few days. Evan Corey and Derek Bradford are confirmed. So thanks to Pro Volleyball News, Rosie on that one. She sent me the comment where Evan kind of had confirmed that in the comments. So they're one of the few partnerships that sounds like that are going to stay together. And that's two young players, I think, with a lot of potential. So that's a partnership that I'm excited to see and excited to see where they can go. I would put Derek Bradford on a pretty short list of young up-and-coming blockers. And Evan Corey's been good for a while now. So good opportunity then to see them too. We talked about Miles Partain being the best available defender. James Shaw, best available blocker. We've had that conversation. Chase and Trevor, we talked about them. So then you're getting down to that next list. And you had said there, let me get back to that, Hagen, Wyatt, Bradford, Weber. You also have Kame Schock in that conversation. You have Cody Caldwell. Don't forget about him. He got injured in the beginning of this season playing with Trevor internationally. But Cody Caldwell's a player that's going to certainly be in this conversation. Hagen and Logan, as you said, Will Cox, Wyatt Harrison, Brewster, Ierna. Where do we go here? Where do we go? Going to be a good question to see how all this shakes out. Do Hagen and Logan stay together? So they had a pretty good season in 2025. They ended up coming up just short of the AVP League Championships. I believe the LA Launch won the City Cup, if not first or second there, with Megan and Therese. Logan and Hagen played really well, and they gave Phil and Trevor a real run for their money in that finals. And I want to make sure I'm not saying, so Phil and Trevor ended up winning that one. So Hagen and Logan take a second in the AVP League Championships. They had a great season. Hagen's been getting better and better. Logan is on a short list now for, he's in the top 5 list for blockers available in the United States. So they're certainly in the conversation. So honestly, I don't know how this is all going to break out. I'm interested to see what you think. Cook and Field would be a big draw for fans of flashiness and smack talk, but would they be strong enough to make the leads? Good question. Good question. That would be a fun partnership. It would be certainly attracting the fans, attracting the conversation. Upside down, Amy saying Sean is going to play for Scotland. That would be awesome if that's confirmed. Everyone should subscribe to Sean's channel. It's super fun. Yeah, Sean does good stuff with the content game. We love Sean Cook over here. So certainly go give that a check. So yeah, a lot of dominoes yet to fall. On the men's side, Troy Field certainly in that conversation as well. Thanks to W. Barnhill 3 for adding that to the list. The question is, does Kame Schock go for another Olympic quad? I bet you he does. If I had to guess, he would. The question's going to be, what kind of blocker can he pull there? For me, the next domino is obviously Partain, Shaw, Buttinger, Crabb, and then from there, everything's got to shake out. So that's what I'm thinking on the men's side. A couple more questions here before we wrap this thing up. And again, thanks for joining me. We're going to be doing these whenever the situation calls for it. A lot of good beach volleyball conversation to be had here. Taylor and Andy getting together. I'm pumped for that partnership. Kelly and Megan getting together. I am pumped for that partnership. Megan, a huge fan of her game, and Kelly's been best blocker on the women's side. A couple more questions from Rosie. Who do you think the next partnership to get announced? I think we just kind of covered that one. How do you feel about the new Dubai FIVB deal? Optimistic? Question mark. Boy, that's a loaded question, Rosie. Give me a loaded question to end it. Partain Chase, to get back to the comments there. Sorry, I'm bouncing around here a little bit. I want to keep up with the chat. I kind of fell off there for a minute. My vote's for FIVB League, Partain Sander for 2-ball extravaganza. What about Partain Chase? Thoughts on that possibility? Yeah, Partain and Chase could be. That could be a good partnership. They are both very chill, for sure. I honestly, I don't know. That could work for sure. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Miles Partain and how quickly that gets announced. And I wouldn't be surprised if you don't hear anything for a while out of Miles Partain. I'm thinking that maybe you might get some time here where kind of things shake out and people are wondering what's happening with Miles Partain. I think that's a very, very good possibility. Want to wrap up to answer that question from Rosie about the Dubai FIVB deal. Loaded question to finish the program here. So if you didn't see the news, the FIVB and the Dubai Sports Council issuing a joint press release probably end of last week, maybe last Friday, Saturday, somewhere in there, probably Friday, I think, announcing a 5-year partnership where Dubai will be the host city for a new Beach World Series, which will be a tour, in effect, with emphasis on the experience. So they're trying to make it kind of a volleyball tournament plus cultural destination, fun event, concerts, that kind of thing. So they're trying to lean into the experience part of volleyball, which I don't think is a bad thing. Volleyball could use a little bit of more marketing creativity, I think, rather than just roll the ball out there and let them play. So that said, there's a lot going on here, right? So the FIVB's post did not specifically address what was going to happen with the Beach Pro Tour. Volleyball World's post on it did, saying that the Beach Pro Tour would be replaced by this new Beach World Series. I saw, again, Pro Volleyball News and Rosie posted that the FIB has removed the schedule that they had already put for 2026 for the summer for their events. So there's some question there about whether or not that's going to change or that's going to continue as normal, your normal Ostrava, Stade, all your normal stops. And then in November 2026, this new Beach World Series takes over. So, I guess pardon me if I'm a little, let's say reluctant, but I'm not going to come out in front of you guys and wave the flag right away and say, heck yeah, I'm super pumped for this new Beach World Series. Because we don't know what it is yet, right? There's no information. It's good to see. So part of the reason I've been so supportive of the AVP League so far is that they're trying something, and they're trying something new because the old system wasn't working. And because I have had the opportunity to both communicate with and hear from people who have communicated with the people that are making those decisions. And everybody seems to be pretty encouraged by the buy-in by that owner management group, right? For the Beach Pro Tour and the FIVB, I have not heard the same level of optimism and confidence in the people that are running it. Not that I've heard bad things, but I haven't heard a lot of good things from the players, from the people that deal with these people on a day-to-day basis, right? So I guess give me the space here to be cautious about this new Beach World Series, right? Because we had the Challenge Elite Future System dating back to 2022. Before that, you had the Star System, which I think went back to like 2016, 2017. So there was only 6-7 years in the Star System. And before that, you had the Grand Slam System. And from people that I'm hearing that are in the know, or at least partially in the know, this new system, this new Beach World Series is going to be some sort of, or a similar setup to that Grand Slam style, in which you had a set number of big events that are on the calendar every year, and you can schedule around them, and you just got to go to those big events, and that's it. And that would be a bigger main draw, a bigger qualifier for each tournament. What does the qualification look like for a system like that? I'm not sure. They haven't given any details. I don't know anything more than you guys do. So to answer your question, how do I feel about it? Am I optimistic? No. I'm already at the point now with when beach volleyball makes these changes, announce these changes. I would say cautious. I'm excited to find out more about it. I like that people that have resources and are stewards of the game are continuing to try to make this sport work. So I think it's important that we stay optimistic or at least positive about the fact that there are people out there that are trying to make money with beach volleyball. Because as long as there are people out there that continue to try to make money with this sport, we still have something to watch. We still have something to gamble on. We still have something to enjoy. We still have a place to go and watch and root for our favorite players and live and die with, match point this way, third set this way. So I encourage all of you you don't have to be optimistic, but at least be grateful that there are people out there that are still trying to make money with beach volleyball, and people haven't given up yet. And that may be a low bar, and it certainly is a low bar, but it's the state of the sport right now. There aren't very many people that are making money hosting beach volleyball events, and there aren't many people that are making money hosting a beach volleyball tour. The AVP owners included, the FIVB Beach Pro Tour owners included, Beach World Series, whatever you take. So to see a partnership that's 5 years with the Dubai Sports Council, I think it's a good sign. 5 years is good. That means we're investing some time into making something work, which is always a plus, right? When you hear about the AVP League, the ownership group has said that they are in this for the long haul. It's a good sign, right? Dubai has been a place that's invested a lot of money in a lot of things over the last few years. And there's been a lot of leagues and organizations and things that have benefited from that investment of money that they're putting into things. So let's say this. I am cautious, and I'm choosing to remain positive until more details come out, right? I think we want a place where our favorite players can make money and make a career, make a living, and a place where we can watch sports, we can watch beach volleyball, and we can gamble on it, and we can have a good time on it. So hopefully FIVB is a good steward of that. Hopefully the Dubai Sports Council can be a good partner in that. A partner with deep pockets is always a good thing, which is why I was excited when Bally's got involved with the AVP. It's to partner with at least some capital to spend and some runway to try something, right? So that's where I'm at with the Beach Pro Tour, the Beach World Series. So, yeah, that's where I'm at on it. Final comments here from A.W. Hilliard. Will the U.S. get a pro stop like Newport Beach last year? I don't know anything, right? So I'm just giving you news that I have heard or somebody's told me, and nobody's told me anything about Newport Beach. I do know that people weren't too happy with the turnout. As far as the fans go in Newport Beach, my counterpoint to that would be announced at like 3 weeks before the event happened, or 4 weeks before the event happened. So once again, volleyball maybe needs to get a little better with its messaging and marketing, but for those of us that are beach volleyball fans, which I assume is all of us, that's not news to any of you guys. I would love to see the United States continue to host events. My guess is where we have the LA 2028 coming up here in 2 years, you will see an event at the highest level on United States soil in 2026. And or 2027. I think it'd be surprising if they didn't. It's kind of like that practice run up to LA 2028. Whether that becomes a regular stop or goes away after LA 2028 remains to be seen, but a lot of things remain to be seen. We are not year to year with beach volleyball fandom. We are month to month, week to week, if anything, right? And at least for this week, it's been a good week. Taylor Crabb and Andy Benesh are together. We got a new Beach World Series on the horizon. People are trying something new. Megan Kraft and Kelly Chang are getting together. So I think we have reason to stay positive and continue to love the sport that we all we all love. No matter what it does to us, we continue to love it, and that's what we're supposed to do, right? A couple more comments here before we get out of here. Do we like Partain Shaw or Hagen Smith, Shaw more, VB Slunks? Honestly, for me, and I think I'm trying to echo a lot I've heard from people. I think Partain Shaw is the top of people's wish list. At least let's see it. Let's see what it looks like, right? Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it does. Sometimes when you put two good pieces together, some is not greater than the parts. Sometimes it's greater than the parts. But you won't know until you go. USA versus Brazil Ryder or Davis Cup type event needs to happen soon. Amen to that. We just need somebody to promote it and pay for it. The Newport Beach was announced too late, plus a women's college beach tournament the same weekend. Yeah, well, again, it's beach volleyball making decisions that maybe not always the best for the sport. Marketing seems to be a thing that we struggle out here a little bit with the sport. Anyways, I think that'll about do it for me for this episode of Bet the Beach Live. There'll be a bunch of these throughout the course of the season, right? So if some big news happens, I'll be popping on here for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a half an hour, and we can chop it up and talk beach volleyball. No phone calls tonight. That's okay. A lot of you guys were very active in the chat, and I appreciate that. But don't be afraid to pick up the phone. Give me a shout. I want to hear your voices. I see your names. I see your icons all the time commenting on stuff, but don't be afraid to pick up the phone and give me a shout next time. For Bet the Beach, my name is Chris the Turk. Thank you very much, and I will see you again soon. Have a good night. See ya.
Hey friends, it's Chris and I'm here to say everything that's happening in volleyball today. I live up in the woods but my heart's down in the sand, with the sunshine on my face and a cold drink in my hand. So pull up a comfy chair and take me with you on your run. Wherever we are going, we are sure to have some fun. You set aside your worries, let your dog run off the leash, 'cause everyone